Hey YouTube, hi Spotify, it's Kel, and I'm coming to you today with again another video on along the psychological lines. And today we're going to talk very briefly about something that I do get asked a lot about actually, but it's dream interpretation. And what I want to first say is that every therapist has their different theories and their different beliefs about what dreams are and how to process them in therapy. And if I had a client, I would go about it in multiple different ways and multiple different theoretical frameworks. And of course, that would be based on how long I've known the client and their life. And so it's not going to be as easy as what I say in this video today. But I just thought I would pop on and give just a brief synopsis as to one main way that I personally look at dreams and ways that I help clients process them. And so this way, if you have a weird dream, you can at least get to know the whole point of why I process dreams or help people process dreams the way that I do is because it helps them get to know themselves and their emotional life a little bit better and more. Okay. So what I usually do is if a client comes to me in the dream and they say, you know what, I had this really weird dream. People were chasing me, or I felt trapped, or I felt, like I was in between, there was like walls closing in around me or whatever. Whatever. I'm just making stuff up as I go. Have not planned this video, so we're just shooting from the hip here. But what I would do as a therapist is my first questions are always, what were you feeling in the dream? Because usually I have found that the dominant feeling that the person was feeling in the dream is what they are struggling with, the feeling that they are struggling with most dominantly in life. And what I personally think, and I know this is, throughout centuries, psychologists have had different ways of looking at dreams and how they, what they think. And I know some psychologists have looked at dreams the way I'm about to say it, but basically, is that, you know, your brain, when you're sleeping, is trying to process things, emotionally process events from the day, and to go from kind of shove them into memory, but also hopefully healthfully process them or process them in a healthy way, right? And so, what in dreams can happen is you may come up with what I would call it kind of like random miscellaneous subject matter. Here comes my cats. But the feeling that you're processing and the feeling that you're trying to work through oftentimes is a feeling that you're struggling with in real life. A lot of times that can be, it might be anxiety, feeling powerless. It might be feeling scared about something or fear, it can be feeling again trapped or suffocated or stuck, or there's so many different ways, happy or sexual, but basically, I mean, the what I really think is the key here is to ask the person or yourself, if you have a really weird dream, what was the dominant feeling in the dream? And then how am I feeling that feeling in everyday life right now? Am I struggling with that in any way? Have I shoved that feeling into my shadow or unconscious side? And am I not noticing it or processing it? Should I journal about it? Should I talk to someone about it? Should I seek out a support group or whatever? So all of that to say, the way that I personally help clients process dreams is that dream was trying to tell you something about feelings that you're feeling, and maybe that you need to take a look at closer in your everyday life, and how is that feeling coming up in your everyday life, and how do you want to process it? And I can't tell you how many times I see light bulbs go off of like, oh my gosh, I am feeling really anxious, or I was feeling really, powerless about the situation, or scared, or but it was like a different situation in their real life. And so that's where people get stuck. They get too stuck on the miscellaneous, kind of subject matter of the dreams, like, oh, there were walls and there were cactuses. And now I will say again, different psychologists will say, there's some psychologists out there that will say the objects in your dreams represent different sides of yourself. So that's a whole different way to process dreams. But personally, I feel like what I have seen is that the dominant feeling that you're feeling is often a dominant feeling that you're feeling in real life. And so you can hopefully just figure out, how can I process that feeling better, or help to cope with it in a better way? Or sometimes your dreams are just helping you process those feelings. So sometimes it's not a bad thing if you have a dream that where you're feeling anxiety. Sometimes that can be your brain just coping and kind of trying to understand it and maybe hopefully reduce the anxiety as well. So again, this was a very brief video. I am on the road trip still, and but I wanted to pop on and be consistent and get another one out there. And also maybe, say something that like I've said before, if one person out there has not heard this, maybe it will help them understand their dreams better. And especially if you have a recurring one. I have had multiple people say they have like one recurring dream and they don't understand it. And so I hope that this helps. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it's just food for thought. And I hope wherever you are, you're doing well, and I will see you next time.